अर्थोयम ब्रह्म सूत्र नाम भारतार्थ विनिर्णयः गायत्री भाष्य रूपो आशो वेदार्थ परिब्रह्मितः. The meaning of the Vedanta Sutras, the full purport of Mahabharata, the commentary on the Brahma Gayatri, and the fully expanded knowledge of the Vedas are all present in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sarva Vedetihi Hashanam Saram Saram Samudrutam. The essence of all Vedic literature and all histories has been collected in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sarva Vedanta Saram hi Sri Bhagavatam isyate tad ras amruta tapasya na anyatra syad rati kvachui. The Srimad Bhagavatam is declared to be the essence of all Vedanta philosophy. One who has false satisfaction from its nectarian mellow will never be attracted to any other literature. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Swarupa Sri Bhagavat Tate Veda Shastra Haite Parama Mahatva. The Srimad Bhagavatam gives direct information of the mellow derived from service to Krishna. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is above all other Vedic literatures. Chari Veda Upanishade Yata Kichu Hai Tara Artha Lana Vyasa Kariba Sanchaya. Vyasadeva collected whatever Vedic conclusions were in the four Vedas and 108 Upanishads and placed them in the aphorisms of the Vedanta Sutra. Ye sutre ye ruk visaya vachana bhagavate sai ruk shloke nibandhana. In the Vedanta Sutra, the purport of all Vedic knowledge is explained. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the same purport has been explained in 18,000 verses. Jivera Nishtara Lagi, Sutra Kaile Vyas, Mayavadi Bhasya Sunile, Haya Sarvanash. Srila Vyasadeva presented the Vedanta philosophy for the deliverance of the conditioned souls. But if one hears the commentary of Shankaracharya, everything is spoiled. Yaha Bhagavad Pada Vaishnavera Sthane Ekanta Ashraya Kara Chaitanya Charane. If you want to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, he said, you must approach a self-realized Vaishnava and hear from him. You can do this when you have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhagavate ye namane se yamanasam tatra sastra ache janme janme Prabhu yama. One who does not accept Srimad Bhagavatam is no better than a Yamana, and Lord Yamaraj punish him birth after birth. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we will read little from introduction. Radharani's order. Shakala Sannyasi Muni Kainu Nimantrana Tumi Yadi Aisha Purna Hayamuramana. My dear Lord, I have invited all the sannyasis of Banaras to my home. My desire will be fulfilled if you also accept my invitation. So these Brahmana knew that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the only Vaishnava sannyasi in Banaras at that time, and all the others were Mayavadis. It is the duty of Grahastha to sometime invite sannyasis to take food at his home. This Grahastha Brahmana wanted to invite all the sannyasis to his house, but he also knew that it would be very difficult to induce Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to accept such an invitation because the Mayavadi sannyasis would be present. Therefore, he fell down at his feet and fervently appealed to the Lord to be compassionate and grant his request. Thus, he humbly submitted his desire. Na yatha sannyasi gosti tha amijani more anugraha kara nimantrana mani. My dear Lord, I know that you never mix with other sannyasis, but please be merciful unto me and accept my invitation. An Acharya, or great personality of the Vaishnava school, is very strict in his principles. But although he is as hard as a thunderbolt, sometimes he is as soft as a rose. Thus, actually, he is independent. He follows all the rules and regulations strictly, but sometimes he slackens this policy. It was known that Lord Chaitanya never mixed with the Mayavadi sannyasis, yet he considered to the request of the Brahmana as stated in the next verse. Prabhu hasi nimantrana kaila anigahara angikar sanyasire kripa lagi e bhangi tanhar. Lord Chaitanya smiled and accepted the invitation of the Brahmana. He made this gesture to show his mercy to the Mayavadi sannyasis. Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar appealed to the lotus feet of the Lord regarding their grief at the criticisms of him by the sannyasis in Banaras. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu merrily smiled, yet he wanted to fulfill the desire of his devotees. And the opportunity came when the Brahmana came to request him to accept his invitation to be present in the midst of the other sannyasis. This coincidence was made possible by the omnipotency of the Lord. Ata eva ami agna dilum shabakare yaham taham prema phala deha yare tare ekala malakara amikata phala kaba na divya vai ei phala araki kariba. Therefore, I order every man within this universe to accept this Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. I am the only gardener. If I do not distribute these fruits, what shall I do with them? How many fruits can I alone eat? You are the wonderful mood of compassionate. So we will stop here and we will continue reading this book. Now we will be dwelling in the life of Srila Prabhupada. We are on volume number 5, chapter number 2, title No One Listened to a Poor Man. There is a new episode, so we will just read. Srila Prabhupada encountered another long-standing South Indian feud between the Savaitis, follower of the Lord Shiva, and the Vaishnavas, follower of Lord Vishnu. The Saivites generally espoused an impersonalist philosophy, declaring God to be the impersonal, one appearing in many forms, such as Shiva and Krishna. But since all the forms were one ultimately, fighting as to which god was best was petty and childish. Prabhupada's disciple found this philosophy difficult to deal with. And when Giriraj has argued with a wealthy Savite, Mr. Ramakrishna, they had separated with hurt feelings. But in meetings with other person in Madras, Giriraj was often reminded, quote, "Have you met Mr. Ramakrishna? He is a very good man and a leader in religious functions." Giriraj became embarrassed and decided to make another attempt to win Mr. Ramakrishna's friendship. So they talked again, but remained unsatisfied. Giriraj then informed Prabhupada and asked if he would meet Mr. Ramakrishna himself. Prabhupada agreed. When they met, Mr. Ramakrishna began by saying, quote, "Swamiji, we have been having some discussion about devotion to the Lord Krishna and devotions to Lord Shiva. What do you say? Who's greater, Krishna or Shiva?" Prabhupada replied that actually the word bhakti or devotion could not properly be applied to the worship of Lord Shiva. Bhakti, he said, meant service without any material desire, whereas puja included service with the desire for some return. Bhakti, therefore, could only be applied to Krishna. But isn't it possible, asked Mr. Ramakrishna, for someone to be a bhakta of Lord Shiva and to worship Lord Shiva simply out of devotion without desiring any material benefit? It may be possible, Prabhupada replied, but generally not. Just like when a person enters a liquor shop, generally it's taken that he is going for drinking, although there may be some exceptions. Prabhupada gave the example of the gopis' worship of the goddess Katyayani. Their worship had not been for material benefit, but for devotion to Krishna. Similarly, if one worships Lord Shiva with the aim of serving Lord Krishna, that would be bhakti. But people generally approach Shiva for material benefit. Although Mr. Ramakrishna was usually prone to agree these points, Prabhupada's answer satisfied him. When we were doing this Char Dham Yatra at Kedarnath, one devotee asked me, what should we pray to Lord Shiva? So I give the same little advice that just pray to Lord Shiva because he's the topmost Vaishnava to grant his mercy so we can become fixed serving Lord Sri Krishna. Nothing wrong to ask the favor from these great personalities. Srila Prabhupada's more acute controversy in Madras was not with Smarta Brahmanas, Mayavadis, or Saivites, but with some of his own godbrothers. Although some of them acknowledged Srila Prabhupada's incomparable preaching in the West on behalf of their spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, others were envious. One envious godbrother wrote to Srila Prabhupada in Madras as follows. Revered Swamiji, I listened to your discourse on bhakti at Rajeswari Kalyan Mandapam on the 12th instant. I am filled with doubts on the following. Your disciple danced with Hare Krishna mantram. Are they really God intoxicated as Lord Chaitanya? Second, have you, Swamiji, really got free of your ego? If so, why you said, I challenge? And why are words like I and my always on your lips? Third, why do you use a cushion unlike a real yogi? Did Lord Chaitanya use cushions? Fourth, why do you wear a ring and a wrist gold watch? Are you not free from material attachments? 5. Did you visit Lord Chaitanya's Krishna temple at Gaudiya Math? If not, why not? The purest Vaishnava cult is indwelling there with past Swamijis, with Lord Krishna dwelling therein. Melodious sound from your throat is absent, but a jostling, sick, undivine comes out. Is there any divinity in your persons? I doubt. One disgusted on hearing your speech. What a harsh. Although Srila Prabhupada was surprised and hurt by the extreme virulence of such a letter, he was accustomed to his godbrother's slights and insults. He forbade his disciples, however, to get involved in fight with his godbrothers. Rather, they should simply avoid them. He said that person who criticized the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement were useless and that he would push on. Quote, the dog may bark, but the caravan will pass. In contrast to the venomous letter came a letter from Tridandi Swami, Bibi Puri Maharaj, another of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers. Puri Maharaj, as Prabhupada called him, had a small ashram in Visakhapatnam on the Bay of Bengal between Madras and Calcutta. Hearing that Prabhupada was going next to Calcutta, Puri Maharaj invited him to visit. With innumerable satsang danvat at the lotus feet, I beg to acknowledge the kind letter. The citizens of Visakhapatnam are very anxious to have the darshan of your holiness. We are exceedingly glad and eager to hear Sankirtan and the divine message from your holy lips. I hope the Sankirtan movement at Madras is attracting thousands of citizens, again with dandavats, to all the Vaishnavas. I remain Das Anudas, Bibi Puri Maharaj. So this incident is there. We will continue reading until 6:15. So we have the time. And then again we will chant until 6:55. Visakhapatnam, February 17, 1972. A broad beach of white sparkling sand and the Bay of Bengal's warm, clear waters were a special feature of Srila Prabhupada's visit to Visakhapatnam. Puri Maharaj's small ashram, where Srila Prabhupada stayed, was only 5 minutes from the ocean. And every morning, Prabhupada and his entourage of about 15 devotees would take long walks along the seashore. So Yamuna Devi is writing, explaining that in her own words. I don't think Prabhupada ever excluded any of us from going with him to the beach. All the devotees knew at which time Srila Prabhupada would be taking his walk. And we would come out from our different quarters and follow him to the seashore. The walks were brisk and refreshing and full of talk about Krishna. Somehow or other, we were all able to hear Srila Prabhupada speak. Guru Das is putting in his word as follows. I always went on every morning walk. But one time I was sitting in the temple when suddenly I saw Prabhupada and the devotees going toward the beach. I immediately ran out of the temple to join them without even taking time to get my shoes. But there were barnacles and rocks leading down to the beach. When Prabhupada saw me coming, lifting my feet up high, painfully hobbling down the rough road, he looked over and said, "Oh, your feet are hurting. Why aren't you wearing shoes?" And I said, Prabhupada, when I'm with you, I don't feel any pain, unquote. Prabhupada stopped and said, then why don't you cut your throat? Everyone laughed. And I laughed also. He said, there is enough tapasya. Why create your own? Guru Kripa is putting in his words. So many devotees are, I think, telling. Prabhupada would talk philosophy on and on. There were many things I couldn't understand. I would just listen anyway. Although I couldn't remember anything, I would just hear and hear. But it hadn't registered yet. I used to walk behind him on the beach, and I figured that if I can't follow his teachings or example, yet at least let me step in his footsteps in the sand. Vishaka Devi is explaining. Sometimes a dog would try to follow us or would bark at us. We were all surprised to see how Prabhupada would flick his cane and the dog would run away. Once, when we passed a cow on the road, Prabhupada gave her ample room to pass. And he told us the story of how he had been gored by a cow shortly after he had taken sannyas. Tejas Prabhu is described in his word as follows. Once on a morning walk, Prabhupada was speaking about the dog. He gave a reference to a slok by Chanakya Pandit about the 5 good qualities of dog, that he is very faithful and satisfied with anything. And soon, Prabhupada said, we should be Krishna's dog. He was also speaking about how our pujaris should never be paid. The teacher and the pujari should never receive a salary. They must work in pure devotion. The Kshatriyas also. He said that was the mistake in government today, that the Kshatriyas are being paid. He discussed so many things, one after another. Nand Kumar. Srila Prabhupada will tell us to go bathe in the ocean. Go to the beach, he would say. So one day I asked him, Srila Prabhupada, whenever I go down to the beach, the sun is warm on my body. The water feels so good, the sand. It seems like such a comfortable material situation. How should I understand your reason for asking us to go to the beach? I know the spiritual master never gives the disciple anything that will cause him to become materially attached, but always gives him whatever he needs to remember Krishna. But when I go to the beach, it seems I just enjoy my senses. How can I relate that to Krishna? How can I understand this? This instruction is for my spiritual benefit. Prabhupada responded, the sun is there. Krishna is the light of the sun. The ocean is there. Krishna is the taste of water. You are surrounded by Krishna. How can you forget Krishna? He is all around you. Panchajanya. I was a new devotee and I asked Prabhupada, what about swimming, Srila Prabhupada? Is that not Maya? Prabhupada said, Lord Chaitanya used to go swimming all the time and he used to play brawl. So can you go and swim? Just make sure you remember Krishna. So Puri Maharaj Ashram was a 9 more minutes, okay. Puri Maharaj Ashram was a simple single-story building about 8 rooms. When he offered Prabhupada a room next to his own, Prabhupada was pleased, accepting it as an expression of friendship. Prabhupada relaxed with his godbrothers, Puri Maharaj and Anand Brahmachari, speaking with them in Bengali. Puri Maharaj said he appreciated Prabhupada's work and his Western disciples. Prabhupada's disciple had already seen formal exchanges of obeisances between Prabhupada and his godbrothers, as when in Bombay they had seen Prabhupada get off his Vyasasana and offer Dandvat to his godbrothers. But in Visakhapatnam, they saw more intimate dealings. They saw for the first time Srila Prabhupada living comfortably at ease in the same quarter as his godbrothers. And they didn't feel themselves being treated condescendingly or superficially or being regarded as ordinaries. Through Prabhupada's guidance, they began to learn more of the essential friendly and humble exchanges between Vaishnavas. Prabhupada's godbrother Ananda was eager to cook and serve not only Srila Prabhupada but all his disciples. Ananda was elderly and yet he took the positions of always offering menial service. Although he spoke very little English, Prabhupada's disciple could perceive the affection of Ananda and Srila Prabhupada for each other. Ananda's communication with Prabhupada's disciple was particularly through his cooking and serving of prasadam. Each morning, everyone would gather on the veranda outside Prabhupada's quarters. The men sitting on one side, the ladies on the other. Down the center aisle, Ananda would walk briskly, distributing prasadam, while Prabhupada sat at one end in a wooden chair, fingering his japa beads and observing the devotees take prasadam. Prabhupada had supplied money to the ashrams, and Ananda was regularly cooking sumptuous feast, deep-fried chunks of potatoes in powdered spices, rice, yogurt, dal, three different types of sabjis, French fries, chutney, malpura, rajkeli, sandesh, kheer, and everything cooked to a nectarian standard of excellence. Prabhupada would sit at the head of the two rows of devotees and encourage them to take prasadam. Give him more. Prabhupada would praise Ananda's cooking, smiling with pleasure to see his disciple accept prasadam. The devotees would finish, having been induced to eat as much as they possibly could, and Srila Prabhupada would say aloud the Prema Dhvani, and all the devotees would shout in response, Jai. Uh, After one such feast, Prabhupada called the devotees into his room and remarked, see how he is cooking? He cooks everything. He shows it. And then he doesn't eat until everyone is fully satisfied. This is Vaishnava. How he should act. He is more satisfied to serve than to enjoy himself. The feast continued twice a day, and in the evening many guests arrived to take prasadam, chant in the kirtan, and hear Srila Prabhupada lecture. One day Srila Prabhupada took his disciple to see a famous temple of Lord Nrsimha, Sri Simhachalam, on top of a hill about 5 miles north of Visakhapatnam. Thousands of stone steps led up the hill to the temple, which was situated in a natural amphitheater on the side of the hill. Prabhupada said the temple, which was now run by followers of the Ramanuja sect, was particularly important because Lord Chaitanya had visited there on his tour of South India. Srila Prabhupada chose to approach the temple by car, riding up the winding road past orchard of mangoes, jackfruits, and cashews, and field of pineapple. On arriving at the temple, Srila Prabhupada and his disciples met one of the temple brahmanas who showed them around the grounds. The temple buildings were of black granite and carved into the rock were the forms and pastimes of Vishnu, especially in his incarnation of Lord Nrsimha. As Prabhupada moved from the place to place, building to building, he sometimes rode up steep stair on a palanquin carried by 4 men. I think we should stop here. And yesterday, when I was uh, removing the soil, when I see the roses were not doing good, so I decided there must be something. So I take it out the old soil around the roses and I put new organic soil around it. And I was just thinking that why in the old culture farming was prominent, protection of cow and protection of brahmanas. So if we really wants to grow our bhakti lata bij, that's also a plant of our bhakti devotion. Unless we grow the plant and learn how we can maintain so nicely, every moment you will think, what can I do so they can remain healthier? I think that's really applied to our devotion, the plant of our devotion, that we should be constantly thinking how we should keep our plant of devotion healthy. And if you do the gardening, you will know so many details and we need to dedicate. So I don't know, I spent quite a bit. I used up yesterday 16 bags of organic potting soil. And I think that I will have to get another 22 or 24 bags to complete my task to all the roses and some important plants that I would like to change the soil and put the new one around. It's very, very interesting, gardening is so nice. We'll learn so many things and we can apply in our devotional practice also, that how careful we should be if we want to keep our creeper very healthy. So that was some thought in my mind. So now let's chant until 6:55. Thank you very much.